Here I am, in spite of my circumstance. Here I am, I'm living with no regrets. Here I am, I'm giving the best of me and loving the rest of me, for I am a masterpiece of my own making. This is my story, and I'm here, for I am a masterpiece of my own making. This is my story, and I'm here, for I am a masterpiece. Here I am, in spite of my circumstance. Here I am, I'm living with no regrets. Here I am, I'm giving the best of me and loving the rest of me, for I am a masterpiece of my own making. This is my story, and I'm here, for I am a masterpiece of my own making. This is my story, and I'm here, for I am a masterpiece of my own making. This is my story, and I'm here. I am a masterpiece. Oh, for I am a masterpiece. Yeah, you are a masterpiece.
Hey boys, I'm about to go live. All right.
Yeah, that's good.
All right. Hey, welcome everybody. This is Sunday Sessions. It is your weekly touch point for connection, community, and conversation. I want to welcome everybody who's joining us live on YouTube. You might be joining us from the global campus. You might even be watching at a local watch party. Welcome. And of course, you might be visiting us from the future, watching the replay. But in any case, however you found us, we're glad you're here. And of course, hoping that you're willing and able and ready to share our mission, which is to help people connect better, build better, and live better. And joining me today, I should have introduced myself. My name is Bob Swanson. I'm going to introduce my co-host, Mark, checking in from Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Good morning, Mark.
Hey, good morning. Yeah, it's a beautiful morning here in Fort Lauderdale. And yeah, so I just wanted to touch a little bit on our values, but I also kind of wanted to start with, because we want to connect these values to our conversation today. And the conversation is headcanon. And I'm not sure if everybody is, knows exactly what that means. So let's just want to talk a moment about that. So the definition I have is that headcanon is the unofficial story that fans build in their minds to fill in gaps, explain contradictions, or make a fictional world feel more satisfying. And I just was noting that the same kind of story shows up in a lot of parts of our lives, and particularly in religious and ideological parts.
Right.
They take these fragments of traditions and emotional needs and present them as if they're the official story of reality, you know. And
Yeah, it's
yeah,
actually, I think it's kind of very pertinent to here, at least in the States, is the Independence Day weekend.
yeah,
And how much filling in has been done of our own national history. What stories have we been listening to? Which ones resonate as far as what the country has been and what the country currently is and where the country's going. And so these are all
yeah. So another take on this that I have is that headcanon represents humanity's audacious attempt to write its own interests into a shared story. And just to say that none of us are actually living the official story, but we need to build a life where meaning is chosen, grounded, and owned for ourselves. So bringing that back to values, we are a forward-thinking community, and no matter what path you find yourself on, your next phase should not be just disbelief, but that authorship. And we can't wait around for someone to write a better story for us to live in. We must recognize that life is a collaborative project, and we're actively shaping these stories
right.
for our to have true meaning within reality.
Nice,
And
nice.
we're people centric. We're not just characters inside someone else's stories. And we all have our own fundamental right to embody our experience. And life affirming narratives, the last one we have is life affirming. Life affirming narratives do not require denial, fear, superstition, or authoritarian control to survive.
Yes, yes. I'm glad you kind of mentioned superstition. I like to think that around here in Bridge City, we're declaring our independence from superstition and dogma. Because ultimately, the reason one of the main factors in Bridge City's why is that ultimately people matter. And we're not attempting to kind of pretend certainty. This is really a place for honest thinking and shared responsibility, intentional connection, and mature reflection. And a lot of perspectives are welcome here. You don't have to agree with everything to be part of the conversation.
Yeah, everybody brings their own uh, story to the table, quite frankly,
Right.
and we value what everybody brings. So with that, I'd like to welcome anybody who's here for the first time. In particular, we always want to make you feel welcome and know that your presence matters.
Yes, and if we do have a free gift, so we've got a QR code on the screen there. Free gift for guests. This is not a sales pitch. It's really just kind of an effort toward hospitality. If you happen to stumble upon the stream, you have a chance to learn more about our community by checking out your free gift. Claim it whenever you're ready.
And also, I'd like to extend a welcome to our returning members. Always, we appreciate you being here, that our community is built intentionally by people like yourself showing up and being a part of the community.
And as Mark already sort of introduced, the theme for this July series is headcanon, which thankfully you did a great job of defining that for us, Mark. Because when I first saw this as our topic for the month, I was not that familiar. So
I
you did a
wasn't
good job of
either,
playing
actually.
you did your research better than I did.
Yeah, so let's take a look at what if people would like to chime in the chat. we'd like to hear what headcanon means to you. If you have some thoughts that you'd like to drop in, we'd love to see what you might have to say.
Yeah, and one thing I'll mention, because as I've learned more about headcanon, of course I can't help but think about my own personal experience and how, of course, I was raised in a pretty strict, devout household, and
Mhm.
those certain stories that are you're kind of told, and you're told by authorities, and you kind of accept it as truth, and that becomes part of your narrative, and it can be quite difficult to untangle all that.
Yeah, and well, it's one of the things, when I was looking at some of this stuff, I was thinking about some of the stories in particular, like the stories we tell ourselves about hell, for example. That's
Right.
always a good one.
Yes. Yeah.
And most of the images that we have of this narrative don't even come from the Bible, quite frankly. They come from things like the Divine Comedy from Dante,
Right.
and
Right.
uh, the Apocalypse of Peter. These other
So,
stories
so all
that
this
have
all this other fan fiction has kind of
all this other fan fiction. Exactly, it's all fan fiction.
metastasized into fact in a lot of people's minds, and that's fascinating. And
Captain, yeah, go ahead.
no, I was going to say, yeah. So it's obviously something we'll be digging into in today's conversation.
Captain DPRK has American exceptionalism in our collective heads. Yeah, especially yesterday. Actually, I didn't pay attention much to yesterday personally, but but yeah, you're right. I mean, that's what it's supposed to be like, and that's something I'm sure that we'll be talking about that some more
Right. Right.
later today.
Well, great. Well, let's transition into the news there real quick, Mark.
Sure. So let's see. Well, welcome again. My name is Mark Russell. I just wanted to again just put out a little welcome to everybody. Um, Bob.
Yeah, and just welcome everybody, and we're just so thrilled you're here. The community is stronger. I think we're stronger together. E pluribus unum. So we're glad you're here.
So while you're here, we'd like to invite you to visit the global campus. It's bridgecity.app/global campus. You can get to it via that QR code if you'd like, or if you're good at typing, you just type it in, I suppose. But it's a great place to just check things out, check out the lobby, and get started in and what introduce yourself, check things out. We're always expanding the campus, and there are several places where you can uh, get introduced. In our Welcome Center in particular, you can find some introductory materials and learn more about Ridge City.
Yeah, as a guiding hand, we have things called connection circles, so you get a chance to.
Yeah.
You're not kind of on your own. You'll actually have a chance for a guided tour to get to know the community, and we also have things called small talks, where we have members that present on certain topics, and that is a great way to sort of learn get the temperature of the room, I suppose, and
Yeah.
also get some personal development going on.
I need to schedule one of those for
Yeah, I
myself.
scheduled one. I'm actually later this month. I'm doing a thing about
That's
critical thinking, so looking forward to
excellent.
that.
Excellent.
Um, if you've never, or if you've been a member and are perhaps interested in sharing uh, Bridge City with other folks, consider hosting a watch party. Watch parties, they're pretty low key. It's really just a chance to have a small in-person gathering where several folks are watching a Sunday session together. And the nice part is that you'll immediately have a chance to have a conversation after the conversation, maybe even during the conversation. You might even heckle while it's going on, but or toss some ideas around. But that's a cool thing to do.
Yeah, so and of course watch parties are a good first step. And we it's a good way to just start getting involved. Of course, just showing up here, of course, is useful as well. Bob, do we have? I was trying to find if we have a movie night coming up. Do we
We
have
do.
a?
It's tonight.
It's tonight. Yeah, that's
It's
what I
tonight.
thought. I wasn't sure. Oh, God's Not Dead. That's right. God's Not Dead. How did I forget that? I don't know.
You've been busy. You've been traveling You've been in
busy.
Chicago
I've been in Chicago. That's true.
Meeting up with Bridge City people there.
That's
and
true.
Posting your photos to the Bridge City campus. Yeah, you're doing all the right things. So it's completely understandable that a movie night might miss your radar.
Yeah, but so this is coming up tonight. So this will be good. Yeah, I should be able to make this. I wasn't sure about that, but yeah, I don't see why I shouldn't be able to make this. But this should be a good watch. Just check things out.
I guess I'm supposed to prompt the comments of anybody in the chat if they've seen God's Not Dead. I have not. So
I have not seen God's Not Dead.
Okay,
has anybody seen God's Not Dead out there in the chat? Who wants to comment?
Okay, I got a couple nevers there.
Crickets. We should have those sound effects. I wish we had those sound effects.
But personally, I'm actually very, very interested in seeing it because I live in the Bible Belt South, where even though I've not seen it, I think a lot of, especially younger people, and of course I teach at a university, and so college age evangelicals, they're kind of raised on it. So this is kind of their headcanon.
Exactly.
And so it's kind of interesting. It'll be interesting to see what they have been steeped in. So anyway, that'll be tonight. So join us on it's going on tonight. And we usually have a discussion afterward, which is even, that's one of the cool things. Not only get a chance to see a movie, but you can also, of course, get a chance to sort of debrief it afterward. So
I don't know. I can watch that sober. Yeah. Yeah. I can understand that.
All right. Well, moving on.
Yeah, moving on.
We're going to move into another way of getting involved, which is clubs. We have some really cool clubs, including I must have gotten there. We go. We were featuring 3 this week. We have an art club, we have a music club, and we have a production club. I can't draw a lick, so I'm not really that involved in the art club, but I do enjoy music, and I like to write music, and so I'm involved with the music club. Our member Jude is she's the go-to, and she's the person who organizes songwriting sessions and that kind of stuff. And I'm also tangentially involved with the production club, where we kind of work behind the scenes to make this whole stream happen. Z is the heavy lifter on the production club.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and these are so we have a couple of different formats of these clubs. Some of them are like interest clubs, like art, music, books, things like that. And then there's other clubs like the production club, which is more about participation, like doing, like actually getting things done. And so they're slightly different styles, but something for everyone, I think, in this.
And speaking of getting stuff done, that's what we want to feature now, a brand new music video that was a kind of a collaboration between the art club and the music club and the production club. Are you ready for it, Mark?
Yeah, bring it on.
All right.
In a world full of irrational thinking and echo chambers, only the bridge builders can save the day, bringing us back to a shared reality based on truth and connection. Meet Fast Forward, bringing the future now. Meet Whimsy, fluttering to make new connections. And meet a Firmaman. Wait, is this really this guy's name? Really? Well, all right. Meet a Firmaman, doing whatever it is a Firmaman does. Together, they are the Bridge Builders.
And bridge builders, where dogmatron hides. Bridge builders fight. Your story is yours to write. Building shared reality is better than a fantasy. So you and you and you and me can rise above the phony and be free. Living the life you choose. Don't be afraid to lose when misinformation and algorithm attack. Bridge builders got your back. Together we can do it. Building shared reality is better than a fantasy. So you and you and you and me can rise above the phony and be free. Your power's always been within. You have the strength to fight and win. There was never a such thing as sin. Why wait for your life to Building shared reality is better than a fantasy. So you and you and you and me can rise above the phony and be free.
Right. Yeah. So big tip of the hat to go down to Z for the production on, but also Jude and for kind of coordinating the songwriting.
There's our sound effects.
And I love the fact that Affirma Man didn't get any color. That was a nice added touch or lack of added touch, which so anybody who obviously a lot of members contributed to that. If you're a new member, you don't necessarily need to jump in and start contributing in the moment, but just see that that is a possibility. I mean, we're looking for more and more folks to get involved, but at the start, just kind of get kick the tires and get a feel for the Bridge City community, and we certainly understand that joining a new community can be a little bit overwhelming for some folks.
Yeah, absolutely. So what I'd suggest is like when you do come in, if you go to the lobby, and then you will find something called the Welcome Center. If you go to the Welcome Center, there's a new member area, and that's a good way to go and explore and to get more acquainted with Bridge City. It gives you the steps for starting, to say hello, to learn the campus, and onboarding. Uh, and if interest, also, of course, join a team.
Yes, our teams need more volunteers, so volunteering is important, and you just kind of ask yourself, what's one area of community building that you naturally care about, and then assess kind of your own strengths. Are you more of a behind the scenes person, or are you a people person? Are you a creative, an organizer? Perhaps just you're a support person. Whatever your strength is, so there's certainly a role for you here at Bridge City.
So we have we have different areas. We have a member experience team, which like helps to welcome and bring people in. Our multimedia team, which is obviously what is creating this event today. The missions and events team, which we are working to create meaning outside of just our little Bridge City area here to like out into the entire world at some, as we can in our abilities. We have a social arts team, which I think I mean that it's sort of like the social arts is that the collaboration of like the arts and the music and all that? Is that
Sounds
what
good to me.
I think so. I'm not sure. I have to investigate that myself. Operations team and actually your baby, as it were, the children and families team. So
Yes. Which that's one of my things. So yeah, we will be having hopefully some upcoming events with the children and families team. So
thanks, Jude. I was wondering about that. she responded that I got it right, so that's good.
Okay.
I'm glad.
Well, want to remind folks, not this coming Tuesday, but the second Tuesday of every month is Giving Tuesday. So obviously, any community needs material resources, and if we're going to continue to grow this community, we need financial support. So second Tuesdays of every month are an opportunity for you to contribute. We don't have tithes around here. There's no membership dues, that sort of thing. But certainly, there's
Right.
always a room for generosity, especially if it's a cause and a community that you find it has value.
Yeah, and of course, it should be only what you choose to give and what makes sense. You can't be overextending yourself or anything like that. So, but we do ask that if you're able to help us out, we could use that. Always use that financial support. Um, so to close out today, let's just do a quick recap. Just like you to check things out, visit the global campus, explore a watch party, join tonight's movie night if you can. Actually, tonight's movie night, that should be very cool. Check out the clubs, welcome new members in, join one of the teams to get more involved, and if you can, if through your generosity, support through Giving Tuesday.
Awesome. And all right, so we're kind of wrap things up here. We want to, of course, invite everyone to share the stream if possible. Share it on your social media, like and subscribe to the stream, and all that's left is for us to get the conversation rolling. So we're going to turn things back over to Darante.
Yes.
Right. Thank y'all so much today. Y'all did an incredible job. Like, oh, this was exciting. Just the artwork from the arts, the music, and the production club working together. And I think Jude led that whole project. Jude is she has accepted the commission, if you will, to be our director of social arts. And so we're really excited about that. And I'm just trying to take my name off the screen. There we go. I already know my name. Y'all know my name, and y'all will see it again in a few. But welcome in, everybody. Happy Sunday. I hope you're having a wonderful day. Welcome to Sunday Sessions hosted by Bridge City. My first question for you is this your first time here? And if it is, I hope that we've already made an incredible impression on your life. We have a great community here where our mission is just to help people connect better, build better, and live better in all of the creative and innovative ways that we can, because we're no longer restrained by superstition or religious doctrine or cultural limitations. We can love everybody. You got to scroll back a few weeks and you'll figure out that we operating in the greater gospel, which means we have a room for everybody. I want to do a big shout out to Mark and Bob for doing such an incredible job with our opening today. That conversation felt really good. Major shout out to our arts clubs and all those people, music club, production club. I mean, we had people, the art is created by the artist in the music in the art club. Like, that's wild. The song, the lyrics came from writing sessions, lyric writing sections from the music club. Listen, if you're a guest, isn't that the type of community you'd want to be a part of? A community that's actually moving. That's physics right there. But not only that, not only do we have a wonderful community that you can plug into through clubs, through groups, through just conversations and growing, we also have a free gift that we like to give to our first-time guest. And honestly, who am I kidding? Anybody who goes to the link can get the free gift. And today I've just updated the gift. Okay, this is exciting. Are you excited? I've just updated the gift. You know what the gift is today? The gift today, I was going to say Jesus Christ, but I'm not going to trigger you like that. The gift today is a study guide for today's notes. So if you're a first-time guest, this would be a great time to go ahead and visit that link and get those notes so you can follow along today, or at least have some other resources for you. All right. So also, as you're coming in today, we've been developing this little bit of a ritual on this channel and within this community. But as you're coming in, will you let us know where you're watching from? Will you let us know where you're joining and connecting to this community from? Because that's what you're doing. You're not just watching a stream. Today, you're participating with the community. You're kind of testing us out if this is your first time. So let us know where you're watching from, and let's see how much participation we can get in this, because you never know. You might be watching with your neighbor. And so that's how you find out. As our team kind of mentioned, we have a lot of exciting events coming up, events that I am definitely excited about. One, I'm going to be doing my first small talks with the community this week, and mine is going to be about leadership. I don't know if y'all know, but that's one of my, leadership is one of my favorite topics in the world to talk about. As a matter of fact, that's what my concentration is beyond my major. My major was social science. My concentration was leadership, because our school had a leadership program. And I was like, heck yeah, I want that. And so I'm going to talk about leadership. We're going to be demystifying some things, destroying some myths, some sacred cows, and showing people how leadership actually works. And so I think it's going to be a really great conversation. So join us for that. And today, and I'm gonna get into the talk in a few. Y'all just wait for a minute. Don't be rushing me. No, today we have something really exciting that we're starting. Today we're launching something that we're calling our Sunday Sessions Coffee Hours. All right. And coffee hours are something that I am absolutely just excited about. What that means is right after this session, y'all see me back here, is right after this session, right after today's session, we're going to meet up on a global campus in a live room to just hang out with our members, our visitors. It's a place where you can ask more, you can engage more about the conversation we're having today, ask questions about Bridge City, and connect with other members. Normally this time is a time for our team to kind of check in and make sure we're doing everything right and catching up on what needs to be done. But I met with our head of community this weekend, and we decided to call an audible for this month. We're piloting. That's not a word. It is now. We're piloting our Sunday Sessions Coffee Hour. So this is your official invitation to join us right after today's session. I'd love to see you there. All right. Are y'all ready to get into this? Are y'all ready to get into today's conversation? We're starting a new series this weekend. And this one, as you have heard, is called Headcanon. And the thing is, many of us were handed a story before we were old enough to question it. And I'm going to go ahead and let you know right now, we're going to be a little preachy at the beginning. All right. I just got to talk. I got to set the foundation a little bit. We're going to be a little preachy at the beginning, but we're going to talk, because this stuff is heavy. This is about as heavy as the NSFW series was. So we're gonna have to do some chit chatting, but give me some time to break this down a little bit and to introduce it. Okay, so we were told, many of us, before we were old enough to question, to learn, to investigate, to interrogate ourselves, we were already told who we were, what was wrong with us, why we suffered, what God wanted, what our purpose was, what our limits were, and what would happen if we stepped outside the script. But inherited meaning, perceived reality, and even our shared stories are not the same thing as truth. And I want you to just sit in that for a moment. Like I said, I want to take my time and kind of build this out today. I want you to sit in that for a moment. I want us to sit in that. I'm not giving any commands. We're walking through this together. I want us to sit in that for a moment. That inherited meaning, perceived reality, and even our shared stories are not the same thing as truth. Can you handle that? Can you handle what that maybe the narrative that you're walking in with your confident self, maybe the stories that you share with people that you love and that you told these stories, shared with each other, maybe they're not representative of actual reality, that it's not the same thing as truth. I just want to make sure that this is something you can handle, that you can deal with, because it's going to take that type of honesty, that type of sobriety to handle this level of conversation. Because this July, we're exploring how to recognize the stories that shaped us, separate reality from headcanon as much as we can. And I have to give it that caveat, as much as we can. And you'll see why as we get to week 3. And then we're going to begin rebuilding a life where meaning is, watch this, chosen, grounded, and owned. Like at Bridge City, we have 4 S's. I don't get to talk about them a lot, but they're in our new members onboarding. So when you join Bridge City, you go through onboarding. And if you go through the onboarding, you'll get introduced to these 4 S's. And that is like, I want our culture to be safe. I want it to be soft. I want it to be secure, and I want it to be sound. Now, this just me talking as a founder right now. No, this is what I want. I want our culture to be safe, right? This needs to be a safe place. It needs to be a safe place for people with different ideas, for people with different ideologies, for people with different lived experiences. It needs to be safe, but it also needs to be soft. And the thing that people need to be able to make mistakes without fear of retaliation. The correction doesn't have to be retaliation. Are y'all getting me what I'm saying? But then it also has to be secure, that people are not afraid that they're going to lose their connection over disagreement. All right. But then I said all of that to get to this other part, sound, which means anything that we share from the main stage, anything that we share, that as saying, this is something that Bridge City is saying, it needs to be grounded, not just in lived experience, but it needs to be grounded in something that is verifiable and something that can be shared. Okay, does that make sense? That's how we keep our culture safe. All right, so our goal is to get to the place where we're rebuilding a life where meaning is not only chosen, but it is also grounded. It is sound, okay, and owned. The goal is not to live without story. The goal is to live inside stories that can survive contact with reality. A healthy narrative doesn't require denial, fear, superstition, or authoritarian control. It helps you tell the truth, make meaning, stay connected, and keep becoming. So while we're here, let me explain the series name, which is Headcanon. All right. In fandom, headcanon is not official canon. All right. It's not the official story. It's not the authorized version. Okay. Now, it's not the one that the writers and the producers and the executives have gotten together to say, nah, this is the official story. Headcanon is the story that fans build in their minds to fill gaps, explain contradictions, or make their world feel more satisfying. And that's exactly how many religious, cultural, and political systems function. They take fragments, traditions, interpretations, emotional needs, and that's so important, emotional damage. They take those emotional needs and institutional agendas, then present them as if they are the official story of reality. By the end of this series, I think most of us will have to sit in a sobering truth. And watch this. None of us are living in the official story. Can you handle that? Can you handle that reality that even as grounded as you may feel, as big of a view that you may have, because watch this, because we're intelligent but not omniscient, none of us are truly living in the official story. We all got to be humble enough to recognize that even though I've recognized that the official canon is not as official as I thought it was, I got to be just as pragmatic with my own canon to recognize that it's going to suffer from the same vulnerabilities and this, oh man, I hope y'all are ready for this, and the same tendencies as anybody else. Okay. So none of us are really living in the official story. Y'all hear me say it all the time. What am I about to say? Somebody probably already knows it. We are blind people touching the elephant. All right. And as far as I understand, that has not changed. And sometimes I don't know if we live with the truth of that, because and this is why y'all know, like, I be so against that unearned certainty and that borrowed confidence, because I'm like, did you forget that you're blind? Did you forget that you're experiencing life through limited? Y'all don't want it. Y'all are too quiet for me today. Did you not forget that you just as blind as I am? No, this is how the headcanon gets here. Okay, we're gonna go there. We're gonna go there. It has often been said that those who tell the stories rule the world. Whoever controls the narrative controls perception. The origin of the saying has been attributed to both Plato and the Native American Hopi tribe. But the idea has emerged repeatedly across time and culture as a response of observing the reality of narrative complexity. If you're a note taker, that's a great word to write down there, narrative complexity. Go ahead and Google that and follow that rabbit trail. Not right now. You got to stay in the stream so we can keep that algorithm going. We got to fight algorithmo. Y'all understand? But no, this is narrative complexity. This arises when we look around and realize that the narrative has some complexity to it that we probably were not prepared to deal with. But this idea keeps coming up. Those who tell the stories rule the world. Whoever controls the narrative controls the perception. And in a West African proverb, it was, until the lions have their own historians, the history of the hunt will always glorify the hunter. Come on now. Yeah. Those who tell the stories rule the world. They control the perspective. They frame the narrative. Until the lions have their own historians, the history of the hunt will always glorify the hunter. Can you handle this? Until you're telling your own story, the story will always glorify the other people. You got to listen to me. You're going to always be the victim or the villain in somebody else's story until you have some narrative control over your own story. But a lot of times we don't feel comfortable asserting narrative control because we've never had to deal with narrative complexity. I don't know if my story can exist in the same world as your story. And I'm here to tell you today, yeah, not only can it, it is. It is. Okay. All right, let me explain this. Narrative complexity. Narrative complexity. Let me not yank out my earbuds. Narrative complexity. Narrative complexity is a storytelling style that features intricate plots, multidimensional characters, and non-linear timelines. Now, Darante LaMar Martin, we supposed to be talking about something deep, and I thought you were giving me something psychological or something sociological, and you talking about a storytelling style? Now, this whole time you've hyped up narrative complexity, and now you telling me that this is a storytelling style. Why are you talking to me about a storytelling style? And we supposed to be talking about my story. Do you see that? You see how I did that? I just had to do that. You know what I'm saying? Come on now. Hug yourself and rock on. Let's go. Unlike traditional narratives, that reset or resolve cleanly by the end, narrative complexity builds cumulative, interconnected storylines over time. I need you to understand that, because I think narrative complexity exists in fiction because it exists in reality. Okay, I'm gonna take it. See, narrative complexity requires audiences to engage more actively and critically with the material to understand it, which means you can't just focus on one narrator's perspective. You know you're dealing with something that represents narrative complexity when it's presenting multiple narrating voices who are often either loosely interconnected or not connected at all, giving you isolated views of the same incident. Okay, so it requires attention to engage more actively and critically with the material to understand it. No, you got to pay attention to this. See, and I think that's been my biggest push for our community, is to get us to the place where we can sit with narrative complexity. Okay, to engage more actively and critically with the stories we inhabit and the stories that we inherit. Okay, the goal is to think responsibly, not just to think faster, but to think clearer, not just to, okay, I hope y'all are here. No, not just to be able to get to the decision quicker, but to make sure that I'm honoring the process to get there. Think responsibly. Okay. Ooh, I got to put that. Yeah. I think I'm going to highlight that. Tabletop role-playing games are a great way to play with narrative complexity, exercises all of these muscles. You are 100% on it. And this is a great place to plug in. Did y'all know that Bridge City has a tabletop round-playing game group that meets in the Discord, and they got a game going on called House Bridgerton? Y'all need to go check it out. I had to say it. The goal is to think more responsibly, to actually say, okay, no, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. I wanted to do the George Bush version so bad, but I'm gonna leave it alone. No, the goal, see, this is what I had to realize, and I talk to y'all about this all the time. When I deconstructed, yes, there's a part of you that, yeah, you're absolutely valid saying, oh, they lied to me. But then there's another part of you that has to be absolutely honest and vulnerable and sober and said, I believed it though. And that part is on me. Now, there's one part that is not on me. Surely, when I'm a child, it's not my fault. But when I became an adult, I should no longer think like a child. At some point, it becomes my responsibility to question the stories that I accept. It becomes my responsibility to question, to interrogate, to investigate the stories that I live in, especially when the stories that I live in impact how I engage with other people. You know what I'm saying? So the goal, I hope this is helping somebody. Narrative complexity is a sobering reality that your story can be absolutely accurate and still not valid. Your story can be 100% accurate and still be incomplete. Oh, shows like The Sopranos, Game of Thrones, and Lost revolutionized the medium of narrative complexity by blending traditional episodic formats with long-term complex serial storytelling. All right, so that's closer to reality. Can I share with y'all one of my favorite headcanons from Game of Thrones? I'm a Game of Thrones fan. I own the books digitally. I've read through a little bit of them. I've not read them all. I do need to add the ones that I have read to my book list though. But I do have a headcanon. I do have a headcanon. One of my headcanons about Game of Thrones is that Tyrion Lannister is actually a Targaryen. And see, maybe this is just headcanon from the Game of Thrones TV verse. I don't know if you say it that way, but that's how I'm gonna say it. HBO verse, however you want to do it. But in my mind, Tyrion is a Targaryen. And the way that I come up with that, and watch this, I'm going somewhere with this. This isn't just a rabbit trail. Stay right here. Stay right here. I'm going somewhere with this. Okay. The reason I developed this headcanon is because Tywin, which is his dad, always treats him with disdain. And for one way, you might think it's because he was born as they call him. What do they call him in the book? They call him the imp. In the book, in the shows, he's the imp, and so which means he's a little person, and so it could be that, but it's just so disdain, so much disdain. And then there's some stories in the book about Tywin and the Mad King messing around with Tywin's wife, and so I think Tywin's real hatred for Tyrion, and watch this, I'm going somewhere. For real hatred for Tyrion is because Tyrion might not actually be his son, but might be the Mad King's son. And this explains so much because Tyrion, he can actually touch the dragons. The dragons don't kill him, and that's not how that's supposed to work. That's not how that's supposed to work. But he can touch him, and also his hair is a little different color than from the other ones. I'm just going somewhere. Stay with me. His hair is different from the other, and his eyes, like, you know what I'm saying? They do that little thing like the rest of the Targaryens do sometimes when they are what they call bastards in the book. I'm not calling them a bastard. The book called him a bastard. Get off my back about it, okay? So because of that, I came to the conclusion, is my headcanon, that Tyrion is actually a Targaryen. You know what I'm saying? That I came to the conclusion. Now, the problem is, see, and I feel like some of y'all are there with me. It feels like some of y'all are there with me. Help me now. No, so, but the problem is that is my headcanon. And my headcanon is based on my narrative. It's based on my perspective. Somebody else might see it differently. And here's the thing, this that sober thing I was talking about. I'm pretty confident that my headcanon is the best explanation. I am. I'm willing to stand on that hill. But I'm humble enough to know that I don't know enough about that world. I don't know enough about dragons. Maybe Daenerys's dragons are just more friendly than the other dragons because they brand new to the world. You know what I'm saying? So the big point is I have to be aware, no matter how confident I am in my conclusion, I always have to be aware of my blind spots, because intelligence is not knowing what you know, it's knowing what you don't know. Okay. I'm gonna keep going. I just had to throw that in there. It's almost 4:20 somewhere. I love that. I just had to throw that in there. Okay, so let's keep moving because I got some questions that I want us to get to, because again, this is going to be heavy. Because we kind of opened up again. This is not lost on me. It's Independence Day. Revolutions and social change are often birthed when narrative complexity emerges into a conversation. When the official story no longer aligns with lived experience and better stories find articulation. When that happens, minds change, lives change. Man, societies change. When the story, as we understand it, changes, we often change with it in order to live comfortably in the new story. Okay, I'm gonna run that back. Because I don't know if you caught that. When the story, as we understand it, changes, we often change with it in order to live comfortably in the new story. It's a beautiful process, but the danger is often that the new story is not always a true story. Chosen narratives are not always synonymous with proven narratives. Okay, just like chosen family is not always the same thing as proven family. Whew. Okay, I'm gonna come back to that later because there's so much to unpack into that, and I ain't even dropped our title today. So this series isn't simply about exchanging one story for another one. No, I think that's actually been the problem, that we've just been looking to exchange one story for another story. No, I think too many of us are complicit, waiting for someone else to write a better story for us to live in, instead of realizing that life is a collaborative writing project. Check this out. When you were born into the writing room. Can you handle that? This is a collaborative writing project. You are just as much a part of this story as anybody else is. We're writing these stories together. It's like Game of Thrones. It's one big story, but it's experienced through individual perspectives constrained by the context of their times. You know? Whew. But this is one of the reasons why I low-key like the audacity of headcanon. I do. Headcanon represents the unmitigated gall of humanity to write its own interest into a story already being developed as significant enough to be included and representative of a shared existence, which means I don't have to wait for somebody else to give me permission to write my story. I don't have to wait for somebody else to say, okay, now it's your turn. When I was born, it was my turn, and it won't stop being my turn until I'm not breathing anymore. Oh man, see, this is showing up on the scene, loud and proud, letting the whole world know that you know what, that I get it. You may have been here before me. You may have been louder than me. You may have been here longer than me. You may be bigger than me. You may even think that you're better than me. Hey, whatever you got to tell yourself to help you sleep at night, however you see it and whatever you got to do, I'm here to let you know. And this is from me and the incredible group of builders who call Bridge City home. This ain't just your story. All right, now this is what you got to tell everybody else. Listen, I get it. They're the ones that have all the power right now, but this ain't just their story. They're the ones that have all the attention right now. But listen, this is not just their story. I know you feel like they have all the resources right now, but this ain't just their story. I know in their head, you and people like you are the problem. But the good news is that this isn't just their story. This weekend, I want to talk to some people who are not only deconstructing harmful narratives, but are actively participating in the hard work of reconstructing better ones informed by our lived experience. If you're not offended at being asked to participate and you're ready to claim your author's pen in the story of us, would you drop today's title in the chat? This is my story. That's the declaration that you got to make. This is my story. When I was growing up, there was a song that they sang in the Christian church, and it'd be like, blessed assurance. I'm gonna change the words a little bit. Reason is mine. And they say, oh, what a foretaste of glory divine. But then they get to this other part, and I'm not, it's up there. It's like, this is my story. I'm trying to sing too hard. This is my song. And that's why I need you to sit in right now that, hey, baby, this is your story. This is your song. And how much longer are you going to let somebody else write your story? No, this is my story. Would you just drop that in the chat? This is my story. This is my story. Now, I get you see me a kind of way, but this is my story. You don't get to write my script. You can write yours, but this is my story. Come on, welcome to Head Canon. Now, what is not lost on me is that we're kicking this new series off on the weekend of the United States 205th anniversary of declaring their independence from the crown. What a great weekend to talk about head canon. And consequently, today, this day specifically, like right now, this particular day, just so happens to be the 174th anniversary of one of the most sobering speeches to ever been given on the subject of American independence and its celebration thereof. This speech was delivered by Frederick Douglass and is commonly remembered in history as his 4th of July speech, 1852, colloquially called What to the Slave is the 4th of July. Let me explain. I'm going to pull some snippets from his speech. This speech is 14 pages long at like 8-point size font. So brother talked out. So let's see. This, for the purpose of this celebration, is the 4th of July. It was actually the 5th, which is why he opens it up that way. It is the birthday of your national independence and of your political freedom. This to you is what the Passover was to the emancipated people of God. Now, listen, I got some notes here on this, but I want to point this out, something that rarely gets called out from historians, from people who love to use the language of the ones who came before me, but does not let it inform the complex or the narrative complexity of reality. And that is, I want you to notice that Frederick Douglass does not say it is the birthday of our national dependence, nor does he say it is our political freedom. I need you to pay very careful to that. But he also says this to you is what the Passover was to the emancipated people of God. Now, I have to interrupt here and parenthetically insert something real quick. I'm so glad that this rhetorical mastermind of rhetorical subversion dropped this 2 lines in this speech together like this. I don't know if he did it on purpose, and I'll get to that in a few, but catch this. The Passover is a reference to the biblical narrative of the Hebrew Exodus. When Douglass said this 174 years ago to the day, he was speaking to a people who likely all believed that the Exodus narrative was a historical account, that it was the official record, that it was canon. But today, nearly all modern scholars of biblical studies, anthropology, and archaeology have determined that the official narrative is not supported by what we're finding when we actually investigate. Okay, so what he does here, what this beautiful brother, this beautiful friend of my mind does here is he compares the founding story of these here United States of America with head canon, fan fiction, a bunch of filled in gaps. I'll continue. Later on in the speech, he says, the signers of the Declaration of Independence were brave men. They were great men, too, great enough to give fame to a great age. It does not often happen to a nation to raise at one time such a number of truly great men. The point from which I am compelled to view them is not certainly the most favorable. No, it is not. I'm going to sit in how I really see this. And yet I cannot contemplate their great deeds with less than admiration. They were statesmen, patriots, and heroes, and for the good they did and the principles they contended for, I will unite with you to honor their memory. They loved their country better than their own private interest, and though this is not the highest form of human excellence, did you catch that? Douglas says they love their country better than their own interest. Now, though this is not the highest form of human excellence, and see, that's what I'm interested in. We'll get to that. All will concede that it is a rare virtue. And when it is exhibited, it ought to command respect. He who will intelligently lay down his life for his country is a man whom is not in human nature to despise. Your fathers staked their lives, their fortunes, and their sacred honors on the cause of their countries and their admiration of liberty. They lost sight of all other, they lost sight of all other interest. But what to the American slave is your 4th of July? I answer, a day that reveals to him more than all other days in the year, the gross injustice and cruelty to which he is the constant victim. To him, your celebration is a sham, your boasted liberty an unholy license, your national greatness, swelling vanity, your sounds of rejoicing are empty and heartless, your denunciations of tyrants, brass-fronted impudence, your shouts of liberty and equality, hollow mockery, your prayers and hymns, your sermons and thanksgiving, with all your religious parade and solemnity are to him more mere bombast, fraud, deception, impiety, and hypocrisy. A thin veil to cover up crimes which would disgrace a nation of savages. There is not a nation on the earth guilty of practices more shocking and bloody than are the people of these United States at this very hour. This speech was a beautiful demonstration of sitting with the complexity of inherited narratives. I mean, I don't think I could deliver something this smooth on my best day, and I really mean it, because it's really just the perfect setup for this series. Frederick's presentation demonstrates that people do not experience reality directly as neutral information. They experience it, and the link for that, if you would like to get it, is on the screen. His presentation demonstrates that people don't experience reality directly as neutral information. We experience it through inherited scripts, social position, and the stories they've been taught to attach to events. In the first 2 sections, Douglas steps inside the inherited American script. He acknowledges the founders as brave, honorable, patriotic, and historically significant. He does not flatten them into villains, which is so important, because watch this. Next week, you need to be back here for next week. Listen, if this series means something to you, if growing and who you are means something to you, please be back next week. You don't want to miss it, because we're going to be exploring how villains evolve in our narrative identity. We're going to be calling that one Who's Bad. Don't miss it. Go ahead and put it on your calendar. Go ahead and put it on your calendar. Who's Bad? It's the exploration of how villains evolve in our narrative identity. Thank you, Kyle. Put some fire in the chat. He's showing, what Douglas is doing here is showing narrative complexity. A person, nation, or tradition can contain real virtue and real hypocrisy at the same time. Can you sit with that? Yeah. People can hold real virtue and real hypocrisy at the same time. And then he turns the frame. The question, what to the American slave is your 4th of July, exposes that the same event can produce radically different perceived realities depending on where someone stands in the social order of the story. For the white American citizen, the 4th of July may function as a sacred story of liberty, courage, national identity, and divine blessing. For the enslaved person, that same celebration becomes a ritual of humiliation, a nation loudly praising freedom while actively denying it. So let's open this up with our first question of the weekend. I said all of that to get here. How was your story constructed? Note takers, write that down. Where are the extraordinary note takers at? The League of Extraordinary Note Takers. No, write that down. How was your story constructed? How often do you ask yourself that? This story that I'm living in, this story that I'm inheriting, this story that I'm inhabiting, how was this story constructed? Okay. Narrative theory or narratology is the academic study of stories, storytelling, and how narrative structures influence human perception. It examines not only what a story is about, but how it is constructed to convey meaning, shape identity, and help audiences make sense of the world. When Frederick Douglass confronted both the complexity and hypocrisy of the official record, he wasn't only addressing what the story was about, but how the story was constructed. Watch this. Forget Fred and the US for a moment, because we have a global community of individuals dealing with narrative complexity in real time in a highly polarized 2026 during what is being rightfully dubbed as a loneliness epidemic. And while I hope you're grateful for the brief snapshot of history, I want to talk to you because our mission starts with helping people connect better. So let me ask you this: for whatever story you are living in right now, do you know how it was constructed? No, that's where we need to talk. Do you know whatever narrative you're currently developing about yourself, others, or the world around you? Are you paying attention to the details, to the mechanics of how it is being constructed? See, this was my departure from theology and religious superstition wasn't biblical criticism. I hope you can handle this. It was biblical curiosity. I wanted to know how the stories that I had accepted as true were constructed. See, this was deeper than why do I believe this? This was how did this get here? By what processes, through whose hands, with what intentions, and for what contextual reasons. So the question is not an invitation to become, not just to become more critical of yourself, it's to become more curious about yourself and your stories. So let's walk through this together. I told you I had some questions for you. I'm about to put you to work. I hope you came to participate. If you showed up, you came to share. So I hope you're ready to share. Here it is. I want you to think of one major story you currently carry about yourself, other people, or the world. Just find it, sit in it for a moment, find it. Think of one major story you currently carry about yourself, other people, or the world. Not whether it's true or false yet, but how did that story get built? That's what we want to get to. I often talk about my transition from Pan-Africanism to humanism. You know, I still got Black nationalist tendencies. And I still am a Pan-Africanist in the sense that I absolutely am concerned with what's happening with African people anywhere in the world. But I just now know that that concern isn't limited there. I'm actually concerned with everybody. So to kind of set this up to make sure everybody's comfortable, I'll start with a story that I used to carry about myself. And that was that Pan-Africanism story. And then I had to deal with how did that story get built? No. See, this is, come on. I warned you we were going to get heavy. I told you we were going to start preachy. We done had the preachy part. You done had your laughs and your giggles, but now it's time to do the work. And in the words of Ian Van Zandt, now it's time to get clear. I want you to think of one major story you carry about yourself, other people, or the world, not whether it's true or false yet, but I want you to ask yourself, how did that story get built? How did that, what experiences, what authorities, what fears, what rewards, what punishments, what assumptions and repeated messages help construct it? My lived experience as a Black man in the South, oh yeah, who just so happens to be well read, oh yeah. These things shapes how my story is being built. Okay, we're not debating the story yet. We're investigating its construction. And I think this is sometimes why people don't develop the sense of self-awareness that they need to, because we often have a hard time with investigating ourselves without judging ourselves. See, the investigation, oh damn, the investigation has to come before the judgment. But you judge yourself before you investigate. And when I say judge, I'm not always even talking about negative judgment. Judgment is not a word that always means negativity. Sometimes you are positively judging yourself in the wrong direction. You're coming to the judgment that this is valid, that this story is healthy, that this story is good, but you didn't investigate it. Come on now. Yeah. Watch this. Who had permission to name reality? This is the stuff you have to think about when you think about how your story gets built. Who had permission in your life, in your narrative, to name reality? There are some people in the unfortunate situation. I've lived through cycles like this in my life where I didn't feel like I had permission to name reality. I had to outsource. I had to outsource how I saw everything because I wasn't willing to give myself permission to name my reality. At a parasocial relationship with my mentors, no, you have to name this, and whatever you name it, that's what I'll trust it to be. Who was allowed to define what was real, normal, good, dangerous, acceptable, accurate, respectable, or possible in the story constructed? This is one of my biggest problems with theological sin culture, because now, in order for people to determine whether something is right or wrong, they have to outsource permission instead of do the hard work of investigation. So the question is not, did this harm anybody? The question becomes, do I have permission to do this? The question becomes, if I do this, will people still see me as good? Or if I do this, will people still see me as bad? Instead of investigating, how is this actually supported? Does this create harm? Does this reduce? Does it reduce harm? And then I want you, while you're thinking about that, because what we're thinking about is the story that you currently carry about yourself, other people, or the world, and how that story got built. And now when you're thinking about who had the permission to name reality, who had permission to name reality in that story, and you can often find that by who you lean on to define stuff for you. And then if someone else comes in your life, what happens when they question the definitions? Do you become a scout or do you become a soldier? Oh man. I warned y'all that this was going to be heavy. Do you become a scout or do you become a soldier? Come on, let's go to our next big point of this weekend. How much of your story is inherited? You know? Ooh. How much of your story, how much of your lived narrative started as a we? It's an inherited story. Well, you know, we do this. We always look at it this way. How much of your narrative is an inherited story? It's not a story you created. It's not a story you constructed. It's a story you accepted. In this series, I'm challenging us as a community to sit in the complexity of how our narratives are formed, shaped, and experienced, which means we have to deal with the reality that much of our story is inherited. Now, I told you, I'll use me. As a descendant of West Africans, West Indians, and Native Americans, much of my story is inherited through the context of geopolitical conflict and cultural preservation while living through fragmentation. I inherited the complexity of Joe Golden and Sarah Newman of the 1820s, a Native American and West African living in Alabama in the aftermath of the War of 1812 and through the Trail of Tears. I inherited the resilience of John and Alice Martin of the 1850s, free people of color whose ancestors fled Martinique, who now found themselves resisting the brutal slavery of the Cotton Kingdom itself, Mississippi. I inherited the trauma and disappointment of Ulysses and Ethel Martin, my maternal grandparents. Their lives were never the same after the Vietnam War. My grandfather lost his mind with the consequence of my grandmother losing her life, robbing me of the opportunity to know either. What I'm saying is, and I may not know your story, but I've lived long enough, sat in enough rooms, and counseled enough people to say we've all inherited some stories. And these inherited stories don't just shape what I remember. They shape what I experience. They inform my interpretation of what's happening to me, around me, and for me. They color my perception of safety, harm, danger, and comfort. So here's another chat question for you. What is one story you inherited about yourself, others, or the world that you no longer accept without question? Because the hard part about inherited stories, the hard part about inherited scripts is that they came in without investigation. And so often finding them requires a little hard work. It requires work. So what's one story you inherited about yourself, others, or the world that you no longer accept without question? Like I guess because it's July 5th, I'm being overly racial today, but it is what it is. I'm Black, if you didn't know it. Growing up in the South, and this, I can't speak for everybody. I can only speak for the communities I grew up in. But I remember this inherited story, and I remember because it offended me so. It offended me so. But it's an inherited story that the members of my family would say, the deacons in the churches would say. As a matter of fact, right after I deconverted, I was still in the closet, but I took on a pastoral role at a little Baptist church because I figured it's a little small traditional church. It'll be okay. But they still had, and this was in 2017 maybe. And in 2017, these deacons at this little Baptist church still had the mindset of the older people when I was kids. And they would say this inherited script. This is a white man's world, son. No, that's a story that I inherited about myself, others, or the world. Watch this, that I no longer accept without question. No. Oh my goodness. Ooh. At worst. Oh, that's so, Jude, thank you for sharing that. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Man, I'm a child of God, no longer accept. Come on. Yes. When you think about it, you start thinking about, where did that story come from? And what did it train you to believe was normal? And this is where I kind of want us to get into some of the meat of it. And we're walking through it, but I told y'all it was going to be heavy. What emotion made the story feel true? And this is how, now this is where we're dealing with some reconstruction right here. I think sometimes we give ourselves such a hard time for believing the stuff that we used to believe. We give ourselves such a hard time of accepting these false narratives, celebrating it. I'm sure there was a time you was out there in your red, white, and blue, eating barbecue and raising flags and shooting fireworks like, everybody else. And then you come out of it and now you're like, I don't ever want to do that again. And I get it. But what I want you to explore, what I want us to explore, what I want us to think about, I want you to go back and do a little retro, go back and do a little post-mortem and say, listen, I know that I've let that go. And I know that that's no longer a story that I accept as true. What emotion made the story feel true? And listen, sit in this for a moment. What emotion made the story feel true? Because this is a key in growth. Remember, shame, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, I'm the problem. So a way that I can get to the root of that is to start understanding, what is it about this story that compelled me to think that it was true? And so here's the question: what emotion does that old story that you inherited about yourself, others, or the world that you no longer accept without question, what emotion made that story feel true? Well, I can tell you, I can go back to even how I got saved and how I got involved in church. God was presented as a loving father who fixes families. And I was a kid without a father living in a broken family. And so it was the emotion of reconciliation, of healing, of belonging, of restoration, of second chances that made the story feel true. Thank you, fear and anxiety. Man, wow. So you get fear, you get shame, you get guilt, you get belonging, you get pride. I have to wrestle with this a lot of times with people in some of the work that I do, because sometimes you hear something and it makes you so proud that you don't want to investigate it. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, well, no, let's investigate that. Like for years, and I might piss some people off right here, but it is what it is. For years, there were people who were saying that that Africans had visited the Americas, and the evidence was the Olmecs. And like, you have to make a few leaps. I'm not saying the connection isn't there. I'm saying you have to make a few leaps to get there. And what makes you, what is giving you the confidence when the evidence doesn't? What's giving you the confidence when the evidence doesn't? The emotion. Now, by the way, there's plenty of evidence that dark-skinned people arrived in the Americas. Like, oh my goodness. Okay, I'm just gonna make this. I'm gonna make this quick, real quick. All right, Africans traveled to the Polynesian Islands. Polynesian Islands traveled to the Americas, including Hawaii. That's how Hawaii gets populated. The yam exists in South America for this very reason. So what I'm saying is, you ain't got to make up lies. And sometimes misinformation operates on our emotion. And so you have to begin to sit with, if that emotion wasn't driving that story, would the story still hold up? If I wasn't afraid of something in this story, would this story still hold up? If I wasn't extremely proud of something in this story, would the story still hold up? If this story didn't revolve around somebody that I really like, would the story really hold up? If this story didn't make me feel like a better person, would the story still hold up? This is a powerful question, because many inherited narratives survive because they are emotionally reinforced, not because they're accurate. And we have to understand that as emotional creatures, that we are all vulnerable to that. We're all vulnerable to having emotional attachments to stories without having the evidence to support the story. So I want you to think about that. See, have you ever thought about why religious stories resonate? Ultimately, and it's nothing I really try to do in my work, is to separate, is actually to bring religious stories out of the silo as if there's something separate and sacred from any other stories. Ultimately, religious stories resonate for the same reason all stories resonate. They're written by the same people for the same audiences. They're written by people who inherited similar recognizable themes. Stories resonate because they tap into universal human experiences. They use vivid characters and character archetypes to explore complex themes like love, sacrifice, and the search for meaning. These narratives provide a framework for understanding. That's hermeneutics. We're all living it. We're all experiencing it, but we're not all understanding it. And so stories help us get an understanding of life's challenges and offers a sense of connection and purpose. Religious stories are human stories, okay? Religious stories are human stories. Don't let them take that away from you. They're human stories. Humans wrote them. Ain't no ghost, goon, or goblin wrote not nan book that we done seen. And so until then, all stories are human stories. Until I'm gonna pull on this quote I pulled earlier. Until gods have historians of their own, the books need to be glorifying the humans. Man, I'm talking better than y'all responded. But see, that's actually why the gods are so human-like. These stories resonate because of what they remind us about our own lived experience. Whether it's the shepherd boy versus a giant or the farmhand versus a Sith Lord, you don't have to believe in it to feel it. Okay? Like watch this. My whole time as a preacher, my whole time as a Christian, I never once believed that a 12-year-old boy killed a giant. Okay, never once. I never once believed it. I just figured one day I was going to get to the top of Christianity and the Protestant Pope was going to be like, hey, it's all metaphor. And I was going to be like, I knew it. So I never once believed, not one time in my life, that a little teenage boy threw a rock at a giant and the giant died. Never believed it. Okay, never believed it. You want me to tell you why I didn't believe it? Because I didn't believe in giants. It wasn't really complicated. I didn't believe in giants. I was like, surely this story has to be about something else. But the fact that even as a Christian and as a preacher back then, that even though I didn't believe the story, it didn't stop me from feeling the story, because I know what you're telling me is that this little boy is coming up against a giant and he's going to kill the giant with the rock. That's the technicalities of the story. But the metaphor beneath the story is that sometimes small people can make a big difference. That's a human story. You know what I'm saying? I'm sorry. I got another one. I got another one for you. Terry Pratchett. Come on now. I got another one for you. Because I told you we're sitting in it. We're sitting in it. What does your current story help you do? Now, I think this one is actually a really good one. I want you to think about it. Like, no. What does your current story help you do? Why are you living in the story that you're living in right now? Whatever it is. And I get it. It's a big story. So you just pick one of the chapters in your story that you want to pick to focus on. But what does whatever story you're living in right now, whatever current story, whatever story you are currently engaging, that you are actively living in, what does your story help you do? And I'm asking this because, like, if you have a choice in your stories, what I'm really asking is, why choose this one? Okay. What does your story help you do? Is it helping you make sense of pain? Is it helping you avoid uncertainty? Maybe your story is helping you feel motivated. Or maybe your story is just helping you feel justified. No, what does your story help you do? Because, like, listen. Okay, watch this. Because these questions are related. What emotion made the story feel true? This is why I attached to it. And watch it. Just because an emotion made the story feel true does not mean the story is not true yet. We're deconstructing how the story was constructed. What emotion made the story feel true? But then also, what does this story help me to do? There's a reason I'm sticking with this one. At least I hope so, if I'm being intentional. Am I sticking with this story because it gives me someone to blame? Am I sticking with this story because it gives me someone to trust? And then, and as you get a hold of that, does that purpose make the story more accurate or just more useful? Useful is good. Useful is wonderful. And that's what you're walking yourself through. This emotion. Okay, now I see why that emotion. This is what this story is also helping me do. So now I see why it's a little harder for me to investigate. This is helping me do something. But now that I know that it's useful, now that I know that it's useful, it still doesn't answer the question of whether it's accurate. Headcanon. That's what we're talking about. Okay. All right, now let's go. Let's go. What is one part of your story you're ready to become more curious about without attacking yourself for believing it? Do you even have the space to do that? Do you have the safety to do that? Do you have the self-awareness to do that? To be able to sit down with yourself and say, here's a part of my story that I want to get more curious about. And I want to be able to do it without attacking myself for believing it. Okay? It's being able to interrogate yourself soberly, fairly, honestly. What question would help you investigate it honestly? How did this belief get here? What evidence was I given? What was I afraid would happen if I questioned it? Who taught me this? And what were they trying to preserve? Which this leads me to my last major point of today's conversation, because all of this is about moving forward. Remember, they told you we're forward thinking here. So this isn't about getting you stuck in where you used to be. It's not about getting you stuck in the stories you used to believe. It's helping you unpack those stories, sure. And it's helping you to develop the muscle to get more critically engaged with how you build your story. But that's actually the purpose, is how you build your story. So here's my question. How are you writing your story now? Not what you're writing. How are you writing it? How are you safeguarding it from biases created from inherited themes and the trauma of lived experience? How are we working to include the perspective of others in order to have a better view? Because at the end of the day, this can't just be about the stories that we let go. It has to be just as much about the stories that we're now building and learning from the mistakes of the stories we've inhabited and inherited before. How are we working together to get a better view before settling in a narrative? And here's the flip side. Are you waiting for others to write you in, or are you writing yourself into the situations that you actually want to be in? We're not talking about magic. We're talking about narrative control. Are you writing yourself into the situations that you actually want to be in? Let's get there real quick. We're going to hit it, quit it, and then roll on with it. But when you sit down and complain about your life, how much of it are you actively looking for something I can control that part of the story? Because you got to understand, narrative construction requires character development, dialogue, and world building. Character development. How am I developing my character? Yeah. How, like I have a vast fiction omniverse that I'm calling it, that I've been working on for a few years now. And I have to make sure that my characters are developing to fit the world that I see them in. Okay. So, hey, you headcanon, are you developing your character in a way that's conducive for the world that you see yourself in? You know? How are my conversations shaping my engagement, my dialogue? This one is big for me. This is why I don't do a lot of like offline conversations. I like conversations that build me. I like conversations that move me forward. This is one of the reasons why I had to let go of Christianity, because I'm like, dang, I'm always stuck in the past here. And I don't want to be there. How are my conversations? How is the dialogue developing the story? And then what does my world need for my story to have narrative integrity? That's world building. What does my world need for my story to have narrative integrity? For my headcanon, I can't even deal with truth yet. We're going to get there on week 2 and week 3. Not just for my headcanon to be true. Listen, getting to truth is hard, but for my headcanon to be reliable, for it to be functionally stable, operational, for it to be as harmless as possible. What does my world need for my story to have that Listen, y'all, small questions like these change the world. This is how bridge builders think. This is why I do what I do, because I think we need humanist practitioners who understand psychology, sociology, theology, communication, and narrative theory to rebuild social and civic infrastructure to replace what our superstitions have infected. We need people not only to value humanism, but to apply humanism. I'm going to run that back one more time. We need people not only to value humanism, but to apply humanism. In my humble worldview, we need humanist practitioners in the workplace, in the schools and communities to help people ground their narratives in reality without depriving them of meaning. And Bridge City is doing the work to make that happen, to build the infrastructure, the framework, the training, and the licensing programs to make it happen, because people are not just leaving doctrines, they're not just leaving cults, they are leaving stories. And if we don't know how to help people rebuild narrative awareness, they can escape the belief, but remain trapped in the story. Narrative awareness is the ability to recognize, deconstruct, and evaluate the stories we tell, hear, and live by. It allows you to see how media, culture, and personal experiences shape your worldview, helping you filter out manipulative frames and understand the constructed nature of reality. One of the most powerful moves in reconstructing your life is realizing that you are not just a character inside someone else's worldview. You are not the burden. You are not the prodigal. You're not the sinner, the poor, the doubter, the rebel, the testimony, the warning, or the project. You are a living person with the right to embody your own experience. But that right comes with responsibility. With great power comes great responsibility. So let's close with two grounding questions. Okay? You ready? In the story that you're currently constructing, whose perspective have you not seriously considered yet? Did you see how I sneaked that one in there? I snuck it on in there. In the story you're currently constructing, whose perspective have you not seriously considered yet? This is what I mean. Great power comes great responsibility. It comes great responsibility. Because if I'm going to write the story, I got to tell it right. I don't want to just think critically. I want to think responsibly. In the story you're currently constructing, whose perspectives have you not considered yet? I accidentally turned the timer on. If their perspectives were included, honestly, what part of your current story would have to be more complex? Okay? And in this last one, this is the last one. Where does your current story have gaps? And what are you using to fill them? Are you filling the gaps with evidence or fear or memory or imagination, past experiences, group opinion, or emotional need? How are you filling those gaps? What are you using to fill the gaps? Because listen, the gaps are there. As an author, I'm the omniscient narrator in all my books, and the gaps are there. Listen, I'm the author, and the gaps are there. I created every person in the Memphis Omniverse across all 13 parallels, dealing with all of the different eternal substances. See, these are all artifacts from my Omniverse. But no, I developed all of that. And as close as I am to the story as the author, there's still some gaps. Can I talk to some parents out there that, as well as you know your children, there's still some gaps? Like, no, you birthed them, you've raised them, you've been there with them. You know them better than anybody else. But there's still some gaps. Why? Because you're not omniscient. You're not omnipresent. So it's not if your story has gaps. You have to live with the humility that the probability of your story having gaps is roughly 99%. And how are you working to fill those gaps? What story are you currently constructing about your life based on limited information, emotional pressure, or unresolved pain? And what would you need to investigate before treating that story as reality? I want to thank you all for being a part of today's Sunday session. Listen, I hope these types of talks are helping you reclaim authorship of your story. And if you're looking for a community to help you do that, that meets regularly and connects on purpose, join Bridge City today. That's what our community is for. That's what we're here for. That's why we connect. That's why we do this every Sunday. That's why we're here, whether you are or not, because we're here to be that bridge. One of the most powerful things that a bridge does in reality is that it helps people get from here to there. And that's what we're doing at Bridge City. We're building a community that helps people get in position to move their lives forward by connecting better. You know, to embody their full experience as people by building better, and to celebrate the various ways that life shows up by living better. That's who we are. And if you're looking for something like that, check us out. The link is on the screen. Come join the community. And if you want to continue today's conversation, guess what? You're invited to come hang out with us for coffee hour on the global campus. Let's connect, let's relax, and let's talk about reclaiming our stories. I'd love to see you there. That's all for me now. I'm going to hand it over to our head of community and our director of social arts to end us for the day. Y'all have a wonderful day. And until next time, keep rising.
Thank you, Darante and everyone. And good morning, Jude.
Good morning. That was a great session.
It was a great session. I hope everyone enjoyed the start of our new Headcanon series and today's segment. This is my story and your story and Jude's story and everyone's story. I know I say this every time, but I really am excited about this one. I feel like it's probably going to be my favorite one. I think I say that every session. I think I do. But
I love the reciprocity series, the NSFW series. Like, I mean, we've got some really good topics going on. It's really fantastic.
But Headcanon allows me to wear my cape. I mean, come on. I'm going to bring that out. Now, you guys have already seen what our clubs are doing if you caught the intro. So if you get a chance to join our campus, you can be part of a great projects like you see with the Bridge Builders song. We have movie night tonight, which was discussed in the intro as well. We'll be watching God's Not Dead. I'll be hosting this one. I'm very excited. And
looking forward to that one.
I am. I will say there may be some themes in it that are triggering, especially as we all kind of move through our journeys. But I do hope you come join us for that tonight, as well as our newest edition. You guys heard me talking about this, 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago? Time flies. But you guys talked about coffee hours that came up. It's a thing now. So please,
it's a thing now.
Right? So please join us on the campus after the stream ends. Not now, give it a moment, but after the stream ends to continue this discussion. I'm actually really excited about this. So again,
this will be fun.
Right? If these conversations help you find language to talk about these things, if you're looking for a post-religious community, and remember, we're trying to build something that's safe, sound, soft, and secure. Come on in. We're all trying to think honestly here without shame and find a place to connect, build, and live better.
Yes, absolutely. And that's honestly, that's what we're all about. Like, we have I'm looking forward to the coffee hour personally. Because like getting a chance to like sit down, discuss things, talk things out
unpack
after
some
it,
stuff.
it makes, and it also gives you a kind of a touch point to kind of get to know people in the community. I mean, you mentioned the Bridge Builders
Yes.
project we've got going on. If anybody is interested in participating in that, that's going to be actually an ongoing project for a little while, just because we've had so much interest in it. So it's going to go well. It's going to expand well past the Sunday sessions for this month. So I'm pretty stoked about where that's going to go.
Someone was asking, when does the cartoon come out? I feel like it was Captain, but I could be wrong. But yeah, I was just like, are we gonna do a cartoon? Like, is this gonna happen?
I mean, like my brain has been conjuring images of like graphic novels and stuff. So I mean, like, we'll see. We're gonna see how far this goes, because like we've got some really talented people who are interested in developing this idea. So that's going to be something I'm going to be working on developing and coordinating a little bit more. I've been a little bit out of it this past week, but I'm so excited.
And what you guys have done in this last month has been amazing. I'm excited to see more of it. And that kind of brings me to, with everything we're doing, it always takes support. Now, support can look in a lot of ways, but in order to give support, we need support. So as always, we have Giving Tuesdays, the second Tuesday of the month, and we invite your generosity. It's not about guilting anyone. We've talked about this before. This is really about supporting the mission and being able to have resources to grow and keep building these bridges that allow us to do not only great projects, but create connection, and keep our community accessible and sustainable, and being able to continue to scale and grow as we continue this worldwide community that we're building.
Yeah, and we have a lot of ideas and visions for like where we want Bridge City to grow. We're starting small. We want to encourage people to set up local watch parties.
Yes.
Create local meetups, community events. But overall, we want to kind of encourage people to move from isolation into association, because Darante mentioned today that there is a loneliness epidemic, right? It's not just a male loneliness epidemic. Everybody's lonely right now because everybody is so drawn into their own little isolated silos. And we want to create a place where it's not only encouraged but safe for people to kind of break out, or people who have been sucked into these kind of echo chambers a little bit, to kind of poke their heads out and see what else is out there, see what else other people in an area where they're not going to be shamed for having a different opinion.
And that's actually something I would say that I feel like we do really well here at Bridge City, is we are not all going to think one-to-one on the same. We're not all saying come here for some religious reward or supernatural cohesion. Like, realistically, it's us all being humans and finding things to connect on. And there's be some things we disagree on. But that is the beauty of the community, is that you can have your beliefs challenged in a respectful way and actually think and explore diverse perspectives, explore where. Well, I'll get to the questions in a moment, but where you may have gaps in your knowledge base, kind of thing. So really, if you can support the community, if you can show up, if you can give, again, not about guilt or manipulation, but it's just supporting an honest mission that matters.
If we get enough blind people molesting the poor elephant, we'll eventually figure out what it is.
Don't molest elephants. No, really, I love that. Like, actually, if we all touch the elephant, we'll get this figured out, you guys. We will know. We're gonna bastardize the saying that Darante says, I know, but no, I just support where you can and help us build.
Absolutely. And we want to. Also, we've got coffee hours, so like make sure we want to keep the conversation going. Like, we're having these conversations because we want to help give people more language, more access to interrogate and improve their own lives, right? We want and the part of improving your life, again, moving from isolation to association, is getting to know other people who are on the same journey, right? And that's what I like to think of it, is we're all a whole bunch of different people moving together in the same direction, because we've all figured out that this direction is probably the good way to go. right?
I will
And so
say,
we've got coffee hour
of
coming
course.
right up afterward. We wanted to use the utilize, like, share the replay.
Of course.
Don't keep the conversation to yourselves, right? A bridge is only as effective as the places it reaches, which is why we're bridge builders.
Exactly. I love do the bridge building. And I will say
That's
too,
Lindsay's whole thing.
it's beautiful. And I will say there's a piece of it for me too that's a little selfish. Like, I really value personal growth and exploration of other ideas. And as a person, you can only have so many ideas in here. So being able to connect with people at Bridge today who've walked totally different walks of life for me has always been so gratifying to like try to understand these diverse perspectives, and people show up genuinely and actively and want to engage and share their stories. And it's just so much that we gain and grow from each other. So again, as you'd said, please share the replay and come to our coffee hour right now. And we hope to honestly see you all there. So as we move into closing here, I do want to bring up again those two questions that Darante left everyone with.
Yeah.
What does your story, excuse me, actually, forgive me, what is the story you're currently constructing, and whose perspective are you not currently considering? Question number one. And where does your current story have any gaps? How do you fill them? You know, I find it important for the narrative that you tell yourself, and there's a whole school of psychology on narrativizing, like your way of life. You know, how close does your story support reality? Like, what is your head canon? And I think today was really about identifying what that story is.
And that's the one thing that I've definitely learned myself in my own life, is that it's the gaps that get you, right? You can have the most wonderful story ever and then realize it's actually horrible because people left out some specific but important details.
Yes. No, so Darante had said it earlier in the stream. He had said, your story can be accurate but incomplete. And I know that's something I struggle with a lot, because it can feel like I'm on firm ground here. I know what I'm doing, but it's the things you don't see. Does it all come back to the blind man touching the elephant? It feels like it does a little bit.
I mean, it's an aspect of like, you only know who was it? It was like one of the ancient Greek guys who said that, I am wise because I know nothing, right?
I have heard this before. We got it.
I can't remember if it was Plato or Socrates.
I would say both of them. They talk to each other. They have that conversation.
they talk to each other a lot.
But no, that's awesome.
Essentially, yeah. But it's like, these are all things to think about, all things that are important for us to consider and to question, right? We want to be able to handle these things carefully. We want to be, we want to understand the reality we live in better, and we want to be able to understand it to a level that we're able to share it and build these connections.
Well, and that's why, with our visitors, we thank you guys. If this was your first time at the stream, I mean, one, you couldn't have asked for a better Sunday session to join, but thank you for being present. I really do hope if you were thinking about checking out the campus and you were needing that push, I hope you use today to come to our first ever coffee hour for our first ever headcanon series, and we can explore these in more depth, and we can kind of have this chance to actively connect after the stream's over. So again, thank you, visitors, and I do hope to see you.
And if you're the type of person who processes through creativity, you could jump on board the Bridge Builders project. Like, we could do character models. We could do we need to, solidify the setting and the places. It's gonna be beautiful. It's gonna be beautiful.
The production club, art club.
I'm hyped. I'm hyped. I'm hyped. I'm hyping it up because I'm hyped.
And I will say, everyone, just because this is Jude's baby, so and there's a lot of people that worked on this. I definitely don't want to discount them, but Jude, literally, thank you. This was awesome. Putting this together.
I was just the seed planter, right? I was just the seed planter. We came up with the lyrics for the song. I thought it was so much fun. I just wanted to throw it out and see who else would be interested in contributing. And the art club, the head of our art club is awesome. She picked it up and ran with it. I wasn't sure if she's okay with her name being said.
She's a published artist. I gotta imagine so.
Oh yeah, no, fair enough. Yeah, that's the name she uses. But yeah, no, it's great. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of it's a lot of it. That's why I joined Bridge City. That's why I started lurking in the music club, is because I wanted to find people to collaborate with, and I'm happy to have found that here. And it's just a lot of people who are really, really enthusiastic about creating, which is awesome.
Well, and so I will say to our members, like we've talked about, like you've heard Jude, you've heard our director of social arts kind of chime in on all the amazing things you guys are doing. So just thank you.
Come on over. Join us.
Yeah, I'm serious. If you're thinking about joining a team, there are a lot of different ways to support. I am not as creative as dear Jude here, but I do enjoy getting in on some of these like creative sessions, but I also like supporting people. So there's a lot of ways to engage with the campus, to join ongoing conversations and help what's happening build behind the scenes. So definitely get on the campus if you're interested in what? Forward thinking, people centric, and life affirming. Oh my God.
Affirming.
We got to do the bridge
fast
builders
forward,
one.
whimsy, and affirm a man.
Affirm a man. There's been a whole debate about what name to put for affirm a man. This is where we have landed, but that was very awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So
absolutely, and so just to apply that to headcanon, right? We want to be forward thinking enough to question our biases, question the gaps in our knowledge. We want to be people centric enough to understand that other people have their own version of reality. Actually, one of our community members, Party Wolf, just did a video about the just to shout him out because he's been an awesome contributor lately as well. He did a really great video on the way that everybody has their own reality, everybody has their own perception. We're all living in a multiverse. But you want to be life
in the campus.
Yeah, and you want to be life affirming enough to accept that people will act and make decisions based on what they believe to be the reality, right? And that may there may be conflict, but you got to understand the humanity behind it if you ever want to resolve the conflict in any kind of sustainable way.
And I think so much of this is about what we're trying to do is not only our personal growth, but growth as people, as how we connect. One thing I think when we say we're connecting better, it really is about getting away from the performative nature that a lot of places in society kind of put you into. So again, if you're thinking about joining the campus, I really hope you all join us now for the coffee hour. That'll be ending. And also just a quick reminder too, once the stream ends, don't forget to do the YouTube things, like the stream, leave a comment, hype it up if that is an option. I never know when that comes up. But then
I still haven't figured that.
If you see it, please do it. But then after you do it, let's go get over onto the global campus. Let's do the coffee hour. And until next time, keep rising and be the bridge.
Be the bridge.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.
In a world full of irrational thinking and echo chambers, only the bridge builders can save the day, bringing us back to a shared reality based on truth and connection. Meet Fast Forward, bringing the future now. Meet Whimsy, fluttering to make new connections. And meet Affirm-A-Man. Wait, is this really this guy's name? Really? Well, all right. Meet Affirm-A-Man, doing whatever it is Affirm-A-Man does. Together, they are the Bridge Builders.